Welcome to the Paying Attention podcast. I'm Brent Beasley, leader of Fort Worth Education Partnership, and I'm really excited about our guest today. We are paying attention to Karen Molinar, Superintendent of Fort Worth ISD. I've been doing this work for around 9 years, and I've known Karen pretty much the whole time. I really like her and respect her. So Karen, we are really glad that you are joining us today. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks.
Can't wait. Yeah.
Thanks for doing it. It's been about a year since the previous Fort Worth ISD superintendent suddenly left, and you took over first as interim, and then somewhere along the way they took away the interim tag from you. And it seemed to me that you really hit the ground running even from the first day as interim. You seemed ready to go right away. It seemed like you had an idea of what you wanted to do. Like, how did you do that? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, for me, when they approached me about doing the interim, I was very transparent and said I would only do it if they allowed me to make some changes immediately. It was really important for me that I could already see, we had started the school year, of course, and happened September, and then officially became interim in October. I could already see we were not going down the right track we needed to for our students and student achievement. Of course, had our scores back internally, even though they weren't publicly released at that time. And, I really wanted to do it. I love this district, been in the district 27 years, education 28. And I knew if I was going to take on the role as interim, I had to make changes and could not just sit by and continue to watch it happen.
And you felt empowered, it seems like, as interim to do that. Sometimes interims feel like they can't do anything, but you.
And that was a discussion I had with our trustees when we met in executive session and had that discussion with them and shared with them, these are the things I want to do, and here's my timeline, and said, I want to be your interim and I want to lead this district, but I have to make these changes and I need that support. And they were immediately behind me to make those changes and have continue to be as I've worked through.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because you were interim before.
Very short. So the prior Dr. Kent Scribner, he announced his retirement. They did the superintendent search and selected Dr. Ramsey, and there was a short window of time. So I knew that was a very, short interim, and really was just to keep everything going for a few weeks until she was able to take charge.
So this was different.
Totally different feel, totally different approach from the board with me as well, and we were in a different place as a community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what were some of the things you did right away in those first few months?
So right away for me, it was about talking where we were currently as a district and talking about the release of our 2024 scores, and then really being transparent about data. Mm-hmm. I'm a data nerd. I look at data constantly different ways, and I love it when we get reports from external partners and look at data. I do like it. I'm this weirdo who's like, I didn't think of it like that. That's a great way of looking at it. And so I wanted to make sure we could share that. But then I also saw we were so focused on the adults in the organization and not the students and the parents. And that's a big passion of mine. I'm a instructional school person. I can do operationals, I can do the budget, I can do all that, and I love that part of my position. However, for me, it was like, if we don't make the changes of pushing adults back to working with our students, then we're not going to see any changes for this school year. And we couldn't afford as a district or for our kids. So the major change was really revamping about 150 instructional coaches who only worked with adults, who were not monitored on a daily basis. We had no accountability, but we were pouring millions of dollars of title funding into these positions. Not seeing outcomes for our students, not really retaining teachers because of it. And for me, it was, if you're a certified employee in this district and you will work with students at least 3 days a week. And so that was the first major shift that we started.
Yeah, and I feel like that was within a few months they were back on campuses.
They were back on campuses.
Yeah.
I was named in October. By November, they had assignments. December, working on the campuses, and we hit the ground running second semester.
Yeah.
And then for me, monitoring is a huge thing. We cohorted student data by tracking which students they worked with, how many hours, how many sessions, what was the attendance. So we could also then look to see if those students made greater achievement gains than our students who did not work with an adult.
Yeah. And did it turn out that way?
It did. We saw a jump just from really January to the end of February when we pulled some data, and I showed that in a board meeting, how we were already, our students were outscoring in their middle of the year assessment for MAP testing.
Yeah. You mentioned the transparency and the data. That was actually one of the things I noticed from day one with you was it was unusual from what we've seen, was you being just very clear and upfront about how things were going, how the kids were doing, where you needed improvement. I mean, that was different. Can you talk about how and why you approached it that way? Because we hadn't seen anybody do it that way from your seat before.
Well, for me, as I say, at first I'm a teacher, and then my second love was being a principal. Best position ever. And so I really went back to my leadership days as a principal and when I took on that role. And it was a campus similar to our district that was not used to talking about data, looking at data, and being transparent about it. And for me, I knew as a system, if I was going to make changes, I had to have the why in place. When you have 5,000 teachers, close to 12,000 employees, when you make change in a system this big, you have so much adult opinions of it and stakeholder opinions. So for me, the transparency of data was like, this is why we're making these changes. And it was really also to put the focus back on students and our kids. That was huge for me. And no one had been doing that. And it's still not something normal you see. I get approached by other districts and people in districts, and they're like, man, you're always talking at a board meeting. And I like to talk, obviously. But I said, like, if I can't speak the work, then I shouldn't be in the seat. That was important too. It's like, I have to show like I can lead. I
think about all my years in leading churches, and we would do like a vision plan or, what we're going to do next. And the first step was always like an accurate assessment of current reality, whether that's numbers or attendance or budget or, whatever it is. But if you're going to make the changes, you at least have to start with some honesty about where we are. And it seems like you've really done that. To learn more about Fort Worth Education Partnership, check out our website, fortworthep.org. And we are on Instagram at FortWorthEP. And now, after all of that, you have this sort of specter of state intervention, we'll call it, hanging over you. So how are you approaching the big job that you're doing today, which, you can't just take a break while you wait about that. So how are you approaching the big job you have today while at the same time having that future uncertainty? Like, how are you dealing with that?
Well, first it's also going back to being transparent. It's also being transparent that we're in this position from a 2023 rating score. And now we've already seen progress at 2025 scores that were just released, a couple months ago. And so it's also, you have to recognize where we're at with the state threatening to take us over. And honestly, when you have a school that has failed 5 years in a row, someone should intervene. And something should have been done before that. So it's that part where you have to say, if I'm going to be transparent about the data, I have to also own where we're at right now. And that's something I have not shied away. I was not the leader at that time, but I've been in the district. So I have ownership in everything that has happened in this district as well. That's how I feel. But now it's like, I have to keep going. And we have so many great initiatives we're putting in place. And when you decrease from 31 F campuses to 11 with our 2025 ratings, if I just allowed the cloud of the state takeover and stop working, then my staff and my partners would also just stop believing in the work we're doing. Because I can't just say we're going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
When new leadership comes in, or people know new leadership's coming, that you see that happen a lot.
Right.
Because everyone's like, there's going to be changes. So I'm just going to sit back and wait. I'm not going to lame duck. Like, why start something that's going to be stopped? And education's famous for that. We're famous for that. So for me, it's really important that we don't dwell on that. We acknowledge it. We accept it. I'm working very hard with our commissioner and deputy commissioner to share the new things we're putting in place, new initiatives. But then more importantly, still letting our parents know, like, our focus is on your child, your children, our students, and our teachers know we're here to support you, and that I believe in them because we can do it. We did make great gains in 1 year, and we just have to keep going with that.
Right. You know, we do the city report that takes all the kids in all the schools in the city of Fort Worth and talk about the percentage meeting grade level. And we saw at the city level a small increase this year. For the first time since we started doing this, we saw an increase of a couple of percentage points. But when we kind of looked underneath that, it was really the Fort Worth ISD's gains that drove that citywide increase, because y'all had the biggest gains and you have the biggest population. And so it was really, y'all were really the ones behind that. So you really have made some progress. Y'all grew more than the city as a whole did.
But we had a lot of room to grow.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I want to always acknowledge that. I love the growth we made, but that's the easier part of this work.
Yeah. That's
now it's like accelerating it, continuing that growth, and sustaining those wins.
Yeah, because the city grew from 37 to 39%. So none of us are happy with 39%.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. I know you're in campuses all the time. When you're walking the hallways, are you seeing a sort of difference in spirit or attitude, or can you feel this?
You can feel it, and a lot contributes to our new initiative. We have totally changed our K through 12 instructional framework. Right. We have put in instructional planning calendars. We have new curriculum that we have rolled in K through 12. And what I see is our teachers have structure. We are giving them resources. For our new teachers, alternately certified teachers, they are able to now concentrate on their delivery and knowing the content versus planning. And you feel that in the hallways. Principal professional development looks different. We're developing the capacity of our assistant principals as well. And you know what was fun is that we have this text strand group of people and schools are now sending us evidence of the change, what we're seeing. When you see middle school teacher doing a small group reteach and then having centers, or a high school English teacher, I mean, that's powerful change that's happening in our school district.
To learn more about today's guest, Superintendent Dr. Karen Molinar, you can check out the Fort Worth ISD website, FWISD.org. And they're also on Instagram at Fort Worth ISD.
You mentioned this a little bit. I want to ask a little more about it, this curriculum development. Because I've heard you talk about this before in other settings, that what was happening before was that teachers were basically having to cobble together their lesson plans every day through various sources. And I know this because my daughter graduated college and was a new teacher. And, you know, you're going to things like websites, like We Pay Teachers and things like that. And so what you're working on or have done, I guess, is really develop something that's sort of there for everybody. So it's there for the teachers and it's standardized across the district.
That's correct. That right? Yes, definitely correct. It's really, like I say, K through 12. It focuses on alignment of the standards. Our students are behind. They are below grade level. But if we continuously give them below grade level text and instruction, they're never going to accelerate. And that's what we were seeing in the classroom. Not the teacher's fault. And my favorite example, and I've shared this at a board meeting, is over winter break. And after I was named interim, I said, I'm going to be a second grade teacher, self-contained, and that means you have to plan for all subject areas, your math, science, social studies, reading. I said, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to plan a lesson. Like I taught here in Fort Worth. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating. And I mean, I had so many windows open, collapsing, minimizing. And I said, what are we doing to our teachers? We're asking them to plan every lesson, a line lesson, with multiple resources in multiple places. And it had just become extreme. No wonder we were not able to retain teachers, because what we were asking them to do every day was taking hours. But that was just one lesson. So now we've been able to construct and formulate where there's a first tier one, we call it tier one teaching, and that is your first 45-minute block on level standards. Every student gets it. And then they'll do a demonstration of learning, which is 5 questions that each of our students will do online. And real quick, we're a one-to-one device district, so it's quick. Goes into a portal. If a student scores a 1 through a 3, it's a reteach. They did not master that content in that first 45 minutes. So we already have the reteach lesson. The teacher already has it ready to go. If a student scored a 4 or a 5 on that demonstration of learning, we have their lesson, their independent lesson, and they're ready to go. Yeah. So we have provided all of that with what's more important is the high quality instructional materials. State materials that have been adopted, State Board of Education approved. We don't allow teacher-paid teachers worksheets anymore. And you have to utilize our framework. If you want to be in Fort Worth ISD, and really it's not because I don't trust our veteran teachers, or for me, it's like if we're going to say what's working to be able to enhance that, or say we need to do more of this or take something off someone's plate, everyone needs to be doing the same thing or using the same materials. And then I can start saying this worked, this didn't work, or tweak this, leave this alone.
Yeah, and you can see that with those 5 questions, you can actually see day to day what the need, where the needs are.
And it's not just the students day to day, right? So if you see a teacher day to day that their students, the majority of their students are scoring a 0 to 3 on their demonstration of learning, then I got to go and support that teacher. Like what's happening there that their first teach, day after day, their students are not receiving that instruction.
How do teachers feel about this? In some ways, I would imagine they'd be happier because you're giving them the resources that they need. In other ways, I can see them not liking that. So how is that?
You have been around education a long time, so we have some teachers. I have great emails and narratives like, thank you, this is amazing, videos that they tape and send us. And we've had teachers who say, you have taken the autonomy away from me. And my answer is like, I have not taken your autonomy. Your autonomy is through the instructional delivery. What I've asked you to do is to utilize state-approved, aligned standard material. How you deliver it, and we give you slides, we give them outlines. They can tweak that however they want. But the standard and the DOL and the assessments are going to remain the same.
And I can see maybe as a system like this matures over time, there begins to be a kind of earned autonomy for some teachers, perhaps, where, but you've got to, when you have a situation where things aren't put together the way they need to be, you've got to add that structure, I would imagine.
And we have the acceleration. That's when the acceleration block for our teachers. But when people say earned autonomy, well, if they reach that point where it's working really well, then why would I want to allow anyone to tweak it? So there's always that part too.
You now do whatever you want.
I mean, so then do we go backwards?
Good point.
So for me, what we have done is we've asked our teachers to engage with us on feedback, because unless you're in the classroom delivering that, and we actually created a whole position to help us on each campus, a demonstration teacher, but our traditional classroom teachers, there's a button on our instructional framework, give us immediate feedback. What did you like about this lesson, this DOL? We read it, I read the feedback, our content specialist. We put out asking teachers to be curriculum writers with us to help us really put in place what they need in the classroom, and I'm paying them. So if there's concerns, I'm giving you the avenue to help us, but be part of the solution is what really
Yeah.
my messages.
Yeah. I'm remembering a friend of mine who's more of an expert on this than I am, saying that studies show that actually when teachers are coming up with their own lesson plans versus something that's developed by the body, whatever that is, the district or the state, that the grade level of it is almost always higher or lower with the homemade version than the standardized.
And I was a teacher, guilty. I had my units. I loved Black Stallion, read the novel, did the unit.
Right.
I mean, I had everything, put it out every year.
Yeah.
And as things change, I needed to change with it as well.
Right. Let's talk a little more about the state takeover, the prospect of it. What's happening right now with that, and what are you anticipating happening?
So 2 weeks ago, the commissioner came to visit. He identified the campuses we would visit. So 3 campuses. One of them was Forest Oak, which is the campus that in 2023 caused the letter for the takeover with the rating. And then Clifford Davis Elementary, which is one of our campuses, refugee, high population, over 20-some languages on that campus, but an F-rated campus. And then also William James Middle School, which is also F-rated campus. So he selected the campuses. We did campus visits. And for me, it was the purpose to show him the systems that we now are putting in place. The ratings from 2023 are there. They've changed since 24 and of course 25. However, as a district, as a large urban school district with 138 campuses, I wanted to show him the systems that we have gotten from Houston ISD, which is already in the middle of a state takeover. They're in year 2. They have revamped their system as well. Great successes under their leadership, the leadership of Mike Miles, superintendent. They do what they call NES schools, different structure. Taken a lot of that work, and then some work that we've seen in Dallas ISD as well, which is outscoring us, and how we are creating those systems for Fort Worth Independent School District. Does it look exactly the same? No. And of course, at that time, we were 3 weeks in the school. Now we're only 5. So that was a little, nerve-wracking because I'm only 3 weeks in and we're on our F-rated campuses. So we're still working on the implementation. But then I was able to spend time with him individually in a meeting to share with him in a more detail of currently doing next steps. And then his deputy commissioner and we try to meet every couple of weeks. And I have continuously been able to share with him. So he did share in the media during that time that he, in about 3 months, will make a decision. He has 3 options. He can affirm the closure of the school, which we had already technically closed Glencrest 6 into Forest Oak. So he can affirm that decision. He can remove our board, our school board, our elected school board, and replace it with a board of managers. Or he can remove me and the school board and put a new superintendent and a board of managers in. And so we are waiting that decision, still keeping him and his staff updated on some things we're doing. We have a board meeting next week. We'll be rolling out, continuing to roll out some new initiatives already for 26-27. Because for me, knowing we're putting these systems in place, I have to keep going. And I know there are initiatives that are state approved, state supported. So I really feel like he'll also be in support of those. Whether his decision is to keep me in place or not, these are state supported initiatives.
Yeah. So you're putting things in place that are probably in the direction that he would want to see. Anyway, You're not going in some opposite direction.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And because I believe in what those state initiatives are. If I didn't believe in it, would not be doing it at this pace.
Right.
And then spending a lot more time researching it and digging into it. But when you see the results in other urban districts and it's student focused and alignment, and for us who really had no systemic instructional framework in place, I know that this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. I've toured Houston in the last year and I've seen the structure that they have in place, which is in line with kind of what you're talking about. And That's a great example too in Houston of keeping the student outcomes first.
Yes.
Because they've received a barrage of criticism from all around it. But if you look at how the kids are doing academically, they've done great from what I see. But there's still all kinds of criticism, but most of it's about other things.
It's about other things, and it's usually around adults and decisions that we have to make around adults. And it's hard because I've been here for so long. I can't walk on a campus and not know someone on the campus, whether it's a custodian, a teacher, an administrator, admin. Like I know someone on every campus, and I never want to hurt anyone.
Right.
But if we're not making student achievement gains, then we have to reflect and say why. And honestly, all the urban districts have become so focused on student outcomes. And we laugh about being competitive with each other, but it's more about we're also supporting each other. Like make these right decisions around students. And the state's backing us up with them as well. They put in policies to help us. They put in supports. So I really feel like the first time in a long time, urban districts are ready to move forward around student-focused outcomes.
Are there other superintendents or districts that you look to as these people are getting it right, or that are, that you talk to about these things?
It's funny because we're so unique here in Fort Worth. We're surrounded by other smaller school districts who are doing great things and share some of the same demographics, little different here and there in pockets. But for me, I'm a part of Texas Urban Council, which is the largest school urban districts, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso, Isleta, just to name Corpus. And for me to have that support group is amazing. And we steal from each other ideas and share. But then locally, what a great support system here. Even as small as Castleberry is, they have been making great gains. I'm so happy for them, what they're doing in Castleberry. And there are our neighbors, we share kids. Arlington ISD has a new superintendent, Dr. Matt Smith's over there. So we've been able to talk and collaborate as well. So we share kids in our system as well in this Metroplex. But for me, my biggest ideas of putting big systematic things in place are definitely the urbans.
Yeah. Karen, thank you so much for this. This has been great. So many important things to talk about. We're actually going to have a part 2 where we'll talk about more things that are, accomplishments, challenges, things that parents and others in Fort Worth need to know.
Great. I look forward to it.
This is a Fort Worth Education Partnership production. To watch Paying Attention, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to Paying Attention wherever you get your podcasts.